What's up, everybody? Welcome back. I hope you enjoyed your breakout sessions, your panels, and your networking. I was on a panel that was fire, and I was also in the networking, and I met some impressive people. I'm actually going to do a special shout out to Ethan. I met a guy named Ethan in Colombia who was amazing. I hope you guys are networking as well. And speaking of people, Lulu, do you want to introduce our next piece?
Sure. So I'm really excited about this one. We have a really beautiful video about existing people in the cannabis industry, and we're going to share some of their cannabis stories. So cue video.
I'm a true believer in the power of cannabis for medicine.
Cannabis has changed my life.
It's made me bold, daring, because I believe in the plant.
Cannabis has helped me tremendously with traumatic brain injuries.
Cannabis has helped me be my best self.
My grandfather was diagnosed with stage 4 pancreatic cancer and given about 4 to 6 months to live.
I was a professional hockey player for almost 15 years, and I accrued almost 15 to 20 legitimate concussions over that time.
And I found that CBD induced apoptosis in pancreatic cancer cells.
And along with that came all of the side effects: anxiety, insomnia, and lack of memory. Cannabis helped with all of those things.
It extended his life by about a year, and it gave my family some invaluable time with him that we would not have otherwise had.
The thing I love most about this industry is the innovation.
The hyper growth and witnessing historical shifts in state legislation nationwide.
I just love the energy that people bring, the talent.
I've been given a voice that I can use to stand up for what is right and advocate.
I love cannabis.
Yo, those videos were amazing. The stories are so powerful. This is why I love this plant. What'd you think, Lou?
I love seeing our friends and showcasing what they're doing in the cannabis space.
Yeah. Look, we talk about all of the diversity of stories here, but while we're on the stage, Lou, I would love for you to just share a little bit about your cannabis story. How did you get into all of this?
So I think I have a little bit of a different experience than most when it comes to plant medicine. I'm a first-generation immigrant from northern China, and my parents brought me to the States when I was 5, straight to Eugene, Oregon. So what was really interesting is the folks that took care of us, the English as a second language teacher, the folks that babysat me, they were all heritage growers. They were all cannabis consumers, crystal healers, yoga teachers. So my parents had no idea what Americans were like. And all they saw were, oh, these people love herbs, just like we do with Chinese herbal medicine. These people do Tai Chi and breath work like we do. So from a very young age, I've been around cannabis and growers. When I first wanted to try cannabis, it was my aunt who sat with me and procured for me. So it's just been a very beautiful experience to see this industry grow. From something that was more in the traditional market to something in the legal market. So I almost feel like the prodigal daughter has returned back to my roots.
Love it. I actually found out some things in that story that I didn't know. I've known you for like 5 years. Thank you for sharing, which, I mean, honestly, it's a perfect transition because the next section we're going to talk about just more on the diversity of cannabis and some of the history here. I have the pleasure of interviewing two of the industry's, my favorite people in the industry on the East Coast and on the West Coast. The honor is truly mine. One of my great friends, Vladimir Bautista, the owner and founder of Happy Monkey, New York represent. Vlad, what's up? How you doing?
Good day, my cannabis people. I'm doing well, Jacoby. Just honored to be here, with the community. It's good to be back in touch with everybody and to be here with a good friend and, colleague like yourself.
My man, my man. Great to have you. And then additionally, I'm also going to bring in Chris Ball, entrepreneur from the West Coast. LA's in the house. Chris, it's an honor to actually meet you. How you doing?
I'm good, man. Great to meet you as well. Again, it's an honor to be on the show. It's an honor to be here and be able to talk traditional market, legal market, tell my story. Vlad, what's up, big dog? We at it again. Yeah,
yes, sir.
Guys, to our audience, these are some of the OGs of the game, and it is honestly such an honor to have you guys here. Look, the title of this is The History of the Plant and the War on Drugs. And look, we could take this all the way back to China and Egypt, but to be honest with you, we're just going to take it back like 20, 30 years. All right. You guys kind of raised in the streets on these different sides of the US. You have a very, I want to say, unique perspective. It's not all that unique coming from where you come from, but when you look at the industry and the way it exists today, it is a voice that I want to make sure is amplified and hear how you guys think about your upbringing. So let's start on the East Coast. Vlad, talk to me about how the cannabis industry was when you were growing up and how you came into this.
Well, Jacoby, that's a broad question, man. But basically, I'm 38 years old, and for all 38 years of my life, cannabis has been illegal. You've been shunned, you've been having to be looked down upon, being a minority, being Dominican from Harlem. I thought growing up, Jacoby, that it was normal for everybody that smoked cannabis in my neighborhood to be arrested 3, 4, 5 times a year, be put through the system.
Wow.
And then, I start talking to people, as you get older outside the neighborhood. And I remember I'm talking to this lady that lives in Tribeca, which is a very affluent label in Manhattan. And they were like, yeah, we always smoked outside. We never got arrested. And then you start seeing how we were being targeted and, through the, Rudy Giuliani era, through the Michael Bloomberg era, when they had to stop and frisk, how they were making their quotas by going to neighborhoods like ours and just targeting anybody that either purchased, sold, or consumed cannabis just to make their numbers. You really realize, like, now that, we have, I'm fortunate enough to have traveled more and know people from all walks of life, how that wasn't normal, how we were targeted, how we were persecuted just to make quotas. And then, the other flip side of that, I grew up in a drug infested area, Jacoby, and everybody that was either using or selling harder substances, there was a lot of horror stories, and everybody that sold and used cannabis, it was like the best of all the evils. And you saw how it was able to help people maintain and cope through these conditions growing up poor in the hood and all these different things, and how people were able to have dignity in selling something that wasn't destroying their community, and by consuming something that wasn't gonna destroy their livelihood or their families,
Yeah.
So that's what I saw a lot growing up.
I see. And look, both of you guys have taken that background and built something amazing in your respective areas. And before we get to that, Chris, I want to hear about your experience. To my interpretation, it was kind of like two parts. There was what you were told in school versus what you were seeing at home. And I want to understand a little bit about how that kind of comes into the brain of a young man.
Yeah, absolutely. I was introduced to cannabis, Jacoby, at the age of 10, and so for people who haven't heard my story, I recognized it by the funny smelling cigarettes that my pops would smoke, after dinner. So, every night after we ate, Pops would retire to the couch, pull his tray out from underneath the couch and roll up his funny smelling cigarette. So, I got introduced to it very, very early on. And me being 43 years old, I grew up in the Reagan era where it was the Just Say No campaign, so with my pop smoking it in the house. And then when I would go to like family barbecues, holidays, Christmas, Thanksgiving, uncle was smoking it, grandma was smoking it, auntie was smoking it. So it was just a part of my culture. It was a part of what I felt my family did and everyone around me did. I didn't really see anything wrong with it, but I knew that it was different because my mom smoked cigarettes, and I knew what that smelled like. And then I understood what the other joint, was smelling like, or what the funny smelling cigarette was smelling like, right? So, fast forward to when I'm in school and I'm hearing all of this Just Say No campaign and how bad it is, and you watch them bullshit commercials about this is your brain and this is your brain on drugs, and they frying the egg in the pan and shit. You know, for me, it was kind of confusing as a little kid, but when you go home and you see the people that you love and admire, you know, partaking in this thing, you know, it became, to me, nothing, there was nothing ethically or morally wrong with it, you know, because it was constantly around me and it was constantly in my house. So, you know, fast forward to when I turned 16, you know, my cousin Earl was the neighborhood weed guy, you know what I'm saying? And we in high school, and cousin Earl always got the fresh Jordans, and, you know, he always got the jewelry on and everything like that. So I wanted that too, you know. So I asked cousin Earl, you know, hey man, hook me up with an ounce and let me get busy, you know. So cousin Earl did, and I wasn't very good at it, you know. When I got my first ounce, you know, I probably gave half of it away, sold the other half, you know, but it hadn't clicked for me yet, you know. It was more or less just something that I felt like, you know, I wanted to be like my cousin, and I could probably make a few dollars off of it. So when I graduated from high school, my parents told me they couldn't afford to send me to school, you know. So moms and pops was like, yo, you know, you 18, you got to get out here and get on your own now. So I wanted to go to junior college and play ball. So I moved out, and I asked my cousin Earl, you know, to shoot me another ounce. Only this time I was a little bit more mature, and I understood it's do or die now. You know, my parents can't afford to send me, so it's either I make this work, or, you know, who knows where my life is going to go, or I'm not going to be able to fulfill my dreams. So, you know, cousin Earl shot me another zip, and this time, you know, I made it work, and I just became known as the guy on campus at my junior college as, you know, Chris got the weed, you know, Chris got the sacks. So I used that as a way to pay my school tuition, buy my books, put gas in my little hoopty, you know what I'm saying? Make sure I had on fresh kicks, you know, when I could on Saturdays, you know what I'm saying? Until I got my football scholarship to Berkeley. And once I got to Berkeley, you know, I put it down. I was like, okay, I don't need it. You know, I got a full scholarship. I'm gonna go, I'm gonna graduate. I'm gonna get to the league. I'm gonna be a millionaire. I'm gonna live happily ever after, you know? And obviously that didn't happen, you know, but, you know, after graduating from school and running around the league a little bit, I found myself in Canada over in the CFL. And that's when I really got bit by the cultivation bug, because that's when I first saw, you know, the plant grow from seed all the way to harvest, you know. And once I saw that whole system, I just kind of fell in love with it. You know what I mean? So I used it in the off season. You know, fortunately for me, you know, the boy had really had a lot of courage. So, you know, me and my partners, we up in Canada, and we're jumping the border over at Bellingham, trafficking, you know, from Canada down to LA. You know, I'm picking them up in Canada for about 800 and flipping them in Southern California for about 35. You know, so this is when I really became somebody in LA. You know, I became known as the football player, you know what I'm saying, that had the packs. And so I did that for a few years, man, until I attracted the attention of the federal government, caught my indictment in 2010.
Wow. Look, I mean, this is not, I don't have enough time here, because I could go all day talking to two of you guys. But I want to try to fast forward here. You guys have seen the way these affect the community. And look, everybody talks about the war on drugs and how harmful it was to the community. But sometimes I think we forget that the drugs were actually providing capital to the community. Now, Chris selling packs has money. Money goes to the family. That's community wealth in its essence right there. Absolutely. So now the legal cannabis industry is coming, and there's people that, I'm sorry, don't look like you, Vlad. They don't look like you, Chris. And they're setting up shop in your neighborhood. And so not only does it take money and put it in that dispensary, it also takes money from the guy that was selling packs, right? Now that's money that was going to his mom. And so when we look at the industry that exists today, right, I believe that a lot of dispensaries that come up that aren't minority owned do not have foul intentions. Some might, but not all. But how do we think about, as people of color, being a bigger part of this industry? I know there's social equity programs. I know that we need entrepreneurs. I know we need access to capital. What is your mindset, and how do we, as people of color and people that aren't people of color that actually really care, make sure that we can keep some of that capital in our communities? Vlad, let's start on the East Coast. I'm sorry, Chris.
No, go for it.
Well, Jacoby, I'm gonna start by saying that like I said, this is not something like over here where I'm at. This is something that's happening currently. So New York City is the highest consuming city in the world. So that means that, you know, New York City, I believe the last estimate they did, consumes about 85 tons a year. Right now, it's single-handedly basically all being funded and you know and being you know filled in by the legacy market. So last year they said the legal market did $20 billion, the legacy market did $60 billion. So we just have to think to ourselves, like, you know, you have to find a way for all these people in this economy to be able to transition over. And like you said right now, Jacoby, you know, the social equity that has been presented thus far is not realistic or sustainable, because it's not just about, you know, only ownership and only funding. It's about, right now, currently in the legacy market, there is people of color doing it from the bottom to the executive level. So why should it be any different in the mainstream market, where, you know, they're just kind of like putting people in boxes, when this industry has been held down for 80 years by people of color from the executive level all the way down? Why should it be any different in the legal market? And I think that people need to take that perspective instead of just trying to like just basically touch the surface with, like, you know, one or two social equity licenses in every state. Every company should be thinking, if you want to cater to every demographic, you need to have every demographic in your company to be successful. That's my opinion, Jacoby.
Facts. Okay, Chris, what about you? I know that you guys are pioneers in the legal industry in LA. How do you think about this?
Man, I think everything that Vlad said, you know, the brother's hitting it right on the head. I make the parallel all the time. You know, the social equity program is broken right now. You know, I'm a unicorn. I was able to make it through because of my legacy market and my traditional market skills, and I was able to bring those skills to the formal market and make a smooth transition, although it was not easy. But everything Vlad is saying is correct, man. Like if Berkeley would have just gave me a scholarship and not gave me access to tutors, not paid for my housing, not gave me priority registration, not gave me any of those resources so that I could be successful, I would have flunked out of school. You know what I'm saying? And that's what's happening right now with the program. The program is set, and yeah, they're giving you a license, but there's no mentorship program. There's no financial aid. There's no, you know, consulting programs. They're not telling a guy like me, a social equity applicant like me, who's gotten through the process and is having some success, hey, Chris, let us give you a tax break to go ahead and incubate some of these other social equity applicants, or consult them. You know, let us make it worth your time. Go ahead and consult them and get them through the process and help them along. So it's each one teach one. You know what I'm saying? And until we start doing that, it's going to be the same thing all over again. Yeah, those companies are in our backyards that don't look like us, Jacoby. They're all over the place, but we'll see how long they last. You know, another thing Vlad said that I completely agree with is that all these big companies are going out and they're hiring these lawyers, they're hiring these marketing people, they're hiring all these people with these big fancy degrees to come in and run their cannabis company, when all you need to do is go get one of those guys out of jail that was put in jail a long time ago for being successful at doing the same damn thing, and bring him into your company and ask him questions. Let him show you how to get to the promised land. I got indicted by the feds not because I wasn't good at it. They came because I was good at it, because I was making too much money. I've been doing this for a very long time, and it wasn't my college degree that had me doing what I was doing in the legacy market. You understand what I'm saying? It was just growing up and watching and studying the game. You know, so all these guys that are locked up, they need to release these people, you know, these marijuana, non-violent marijuana crimes individuals, and these big companies need to go target those guys, because those guys have the information. Like Vlad said, this ain't new. This ain't a new industry. We've been doing this. We don't need to reinvent the wheel. You just need to get the guys that know how to do it very well and go put them in position. Give them a high-paying job or some equity in your company and let them bring you to the promised land.
I love that, man. I had a consulting deal for a company in Denver that put a dispensary in a black neighborhood. They asked me to look at their data and figure out why they weren't successful. I was looking at data. I couldn't figure it out. I went on site and instantly knew. I was like, there's nobody from the community that works here. There's nobody calling the shots. This isn't a data situation. This is just an authenticity situation. So I understand what you guys are saying. I feel you. I'm glad you guys could share your story. We have about 3 more minutes here. I would like you guys to share with our audience, from your perspective as business owners from the East Coast and the West Coast, what are things that you want to see businesses do? Look, there's things we want the government to do, right, on social equity programs. But what do you want businesses to do and to be thinking about to support these causes?
What kind of businesses are we talking about? Like cannabis businesses?
Yeah, other cannabis businesses that are here in the audience today, from multi-state operators to small mom and pops, POC and otherwise.
You know, the first thing I would say, man, if all these, now I'm speaking from a grower's standpoint, right? I'm a grower at heart, right? I just became a CEO, so I'm still learning. I'm gonna keep it a buck, right? I'm a traditional market and I'm a traditional market guy transition. I'm a grower, but for some of the companies that I do see out there, man, it goes right back to what you said. One thing is being authentic, right? And one thing is putting the proper medicine and the proper flower in your jars, right? It's this whole thing about, you know, commercially growing all these millions and thousands of acres of cannabis and putting it in this pretty packaging. Look, man, the audience and the industry is starting to mature, right? And if you keep putting bull crap inside of your jars and your bags, your brand is not going to last very, very long, you know. And for the brands that are successful like myself, we just need to reach out. You know, I feel like we need to reach out and support other companies who we know are authentic and who we know are trying to do it right. And we need to support one another. You know, I'm very big on collabs, as the whole industry has seen. I did my first one with Viola. I got some coming with Nipsey Hussle's family. I got some, we talking about some things happening with Jay-Z and Monogram. Shout out to Emery Jones and D'Angelo and those guys. But we got to stick together, right? We are stronger in numbers. And for the guys who ain't doing it right, I don't want nothing to do with you, you know, but for the people that are, we need to band together and stick together and make sure that our industry stays healthy.
Vlad, you got 30 seconds.
Well, Jacoby, what I would like to see from some of these companies is for them to be more diverse. Not only that, but, you know, just to put everything in perspective, like, you know, for this new, you know, big national and global market that's coming along, you know, the what's necessary for the industry to become fully optimal is for corporate to work with the culture. The corporate is necessary for their business acumen, for their funding. They have their pros and their things they bring to the industry, but so does the culture. You need the culture to understand the people, to understand consumers. So what I want to see more is companies representing that more as far as like internally, and also collaborations, collaborate more with companies from the culture, maybe, hire some consulting from people from the culture, and it's not just a charity or empathy thing. It's a smart business thing, because Absolutely. We've seen in the last 2-3 years, companies that haven't done this with large amounts of money have failed. You can't buy your way out of this problem. You really have to get down and understand and really find a formula that's sustainable long-term. And it's not going to be possible if you don't include the culture.
Absolutely. So, Vlad, I got to wrap us up here. Such a pleasure. Vlad, Happy Monkey, Chris Ball, Ball Family Farms. Great to have you guys on. Go follow these guys. They're pioneers. We're going to break into our next set of sessions. But before we do, I just want to make sure that you guys remember, go check out Flower Hire X. It's in the Expo booths. And then Green Flower Media. They're going to be giving away some free content and free educational things. So get in there if you are in between sessions. Otherwise, I will see you guys in the breakout rooms and the networking. Thank you.